Nobody ever expected it to become, I don't think, the phenomenon that was. Certainly, I was stunned.
Love means never having to say you're sorry.
Ali MacGraw, the woman who stole hearts in Love Story, has just named the 5 actors she absolutely couldn't stand. Now, I know what you're thinking. Ali? Sweet, calm, never rocks the boat Ali MacGraw? Yes, that very same one. Which is exactly why this list is shaking up the industry. So what exactly happened on those movie sets that pushed her to her limit? Well, settle in, and don't even think of clicking away, because by the time we get to the last name on this list, you'll be shocked. Ready to dive into the drama? Let's go.
And I read it, and I cried, and I thought, there's something wrong.
Number 5. Steve McQueen. Among Hollywood's storied romances, few burned as intensely or destructively as the relationship between Ali MacGraw and Steve McQueen. Their passionate affair began in 1972 and evolved into a marriage that would ultimately become one of MacGraw's most painful professional and personal chapters. The initial spark between MacGraw and McQueen ignited with explosive chemistry. MacGraw herself described their attraction as chemical, noting that McQueen possessed a magnetic quality that affected everyone around him. This was a man who could walk into any room and man, woman, and child all would go, "Whoa, what's that?" And I was no exception, she revealed. Their connection began under complicated circumstances. MacGraw was still married to Hollywood producer Robert Evans, with whom she had a young son, Josh, born in 1971. Nevertheless, she couldn't resist McQueen's pull. As she would later admit, she initially hesitated to co-star with the newly separated McQueen in The Getaway, partially because she wanted to spend time with her son. But the real reason I had hesitated was that I knew I was going to get in some serious trouble with Steve. Her instincts proved correct. Their affair started almost immediately upon arriving on location in Texas, with MacGraw describing herself walking the nasty razor's edge between occasional moments of sanity and remorse on the one side and on the other, feverish excitement. For MacGraw, McQueen represented a protective outlaw sensitive beneath his swagger, whereas she became his New York intellectual. Now, let's get into how the on-set tension during The Getaway played a critical role in how things unfolded. The production of The Getaway in 1972 was marked by notable tension beyond just the blossoming affair. Director Sam Peckinpah struggled with alcohol abuse that led to numerous arguments with McQueen. The situation deteriorated to the point where, at one point, even a bottle of champagne was flung at Peckinpah's head. Furthermore, the affair between MacGraw and McQueen created additional turmoil as it destroyed the actress's marriage to Paramount producer Robert Evans. The circumstances surrounding their relationship became a well-known Hollywood tale that ultimately humanized Evans's character. MacGraw's attraction to McQueen had begun even before filming started. When McQueen visited the house she shared with Evans in 1971 to pitch her starring role in The Getaway, the actress was already smitten by the blue-eyed movie star before they got to set. Yet early warning signs of McQueen's volatile nature appeared during filming. After one of their first arguments, McQueen picked up 2 women and brought them back to his apartment next to hers. MacGraw painfully recounted how she listened to all that followed, and, remarkably, when the next morning he sauntered out onto his front step and casually asked if I wanted to come and make him breakfast. She complied, noting, "The amazing thing is, I went in and cooked it." Now to the big question: why did their marriage fail? Following MacGraw's divorce from Evans, finalized on June 7, 1973, she married McQueen on July 12, 1973, in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Initially, their life together seemed idyllic. They lived in a secluded Malibu home where they spent time half-naked on the beach, with regular barbecues, endless beer and grass. However, their marriage quickly deteriorated into a toxic relationship. McQueen demanded MacGraw abandon her flourishing acting career to become a stay-at-home wife. She recalled, "I played cook, cleaning lady, simple woman to the hilt. For a while it worked, and we were happy." McQueen's controlling behavior grew increasingly problematic. According to biographer Mark Elliott, their marriage was marked by rampant adultery and substance abuse on his side that fueled his image as a Hollywood bad boy. McQueen wasn't exactly the picture of warmth behind closed doors. According to her, he barely spoke in full sentences. Most of the time, he just grunted his way through conversations like words were too much effort. But what's even more heartbreaking is how he treated her. She said he could be physically abusive, and on top of that, he had these strange, rigid routines that felt more like control than habit. Every evening, he demanded a plate of meat and potatoes, no questions asked, served exactly at 6 p.m. sharp. And once it was in front of him, he'd eat it alone, silently, parked in front of the TV, like she wasn't even there. MacGraw later reflected that living with McQueen meant you never knew what he was going to do or say or be next. That translated on screen as excitement. In life, it was a little less romantic, making for a pretty nerve-wracking home life, as I tried to guess the mood of the day or the hour. The situation worsened as both spiraled into addiction issues. McQueen was getting drunk and stoned every day. Additionally, MacGraw herself was also battling alcoholism. Their arguments frequently turned violent, affecting not only them, but also the children. Chad, McQueen's son from his previous marriage, would come downstairs and find plates sailing past his head when his parents were arguing. Let's delve into the public divorce. By 1977, the marriage had deteriorated beyond repair. After 5 years together, both partners had engaged in infidelity. McQueen maintained a suite at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel, where rumors of his affairs reached MacGraw. His former wife, Nile, reportedly joked at his funeral that Steve liked to f*** blondes, but he married brunettes. MacGraw eventually accepted a role in the movie Convoy in 1977 after her agent pleaded with her. However, when she informed McQueen about returning to acting, his response was definitive. "In that case, we are filing for divorce." Their divorce was finalized in August 1978. The prenuptial agreement McQueen had insisted upon ensured MacGraw walked away penniless. Looking back, MacGraw acknowledged it was stupid for her to stop working at the height of her career without making sure she had a house. She received nothing from the divorce, admitting she hadn't made a living at all, and that her life as a movie star was terrifying and exhausting. The emotional toll was substantial. MacGraw later miscarried McQueen's baby, adding further trauma to their already fractured relationship. After the divorce, she struggled with alcohol-related problems that eventually led her to seek treatment at the Betty Ford Center. Sadly, at the end of the day, McQueen died of cancer in 1980 at age 50, just 2 years after their divorce. Looking back on their relationship, MacGraw expressed complex feelings rather than simple hatred. "I wish we had both grown old sober," she reflected. "There were wonderful days and dreadful days." Despite the relationship's destructive nature, MacGraw has taken responsibility for her role. "I'm not a victim in any way. There were many times that were just wonderful, and there were many times that were just ghastly." She acknowledged that her big sin when marrying McQueen was to diminish and present herself in an inauthentic manner. MacGraw also revealed that her marriages all ended for the same fundamental reason: she never really said who she was. She admitted to an arrogant expectation that her husbands should intuitively know her needs without her expressing them. It was, "Why can't you read my mind about what I'd like and what I wouldn't like?" Somewhat poignantly, MacGraw recalled a post-breakup drive with McQueen, where both had reverted to their authentic selves, She with her high heels and long fingernails, he in a ghastly trucker hat carrying beer. Though the electricity between them remained, when he suggested that they pull off to the side of the highway near Oxnard and make love in an orange grove, she declined. The former couple never met again. Throughout the decades since, MacGraw has maintained sobriety for over 31 years. She left Hollywood entirely in 1994 for a quieter life in Santa Fe, New Mexico. When asked about her current life, which involves extensive volunteer work with nonprofit organizations, her answer reflected peace with her past. "I'm very happy right now." You'd never guess that someone as calm and elegant as Ali MacGraw had a list of actors she absolutely couldn't stand. But she did. And when she finally spoke up, she didn't hold back. So who made her skin crawl on set, and why? Stay tuned, because the names get more surprising the closer we get to number 1. Number 4, Robert Evans. Before Steve McQueen entered the picture, Ali MacGraw's relationship with powerful Hollywood producer Robert Evans shaped both her personal life and professional trajectory in profound ways. Their relationship began with glamour and excitement, but ultimately revealed complex power dynamics that left lasting impacts on MacGraw's career. Let's take a deeper look at Ali MacGraw's early marriage to Robert Evans. Their fateful first meeting occurred at a screening of Goodbye, Columbus in 1969. That night, MacGraw embarked on what she called one of the great drunks of her life. "I slept through the film and woke only long enough to throw myself fully clothed, high heels and all, into the swimming pool," she recalled. "I spent the night in the master bedroom of that house, and I never left." Immediately afterward, MacGraw became the hip it-girl partner of Evans, whom she described as a survivor with style. The charismatic producer welcomed his little hippie into an opulent world that MacGraw found overwhelming yet intoxicating. "I had never seen the likes of how he lived, the luxury of it," she wrote. "From the dinner party guest lists of everyone I had ever heard of, to the 32 telephones scattered around the house, to the first-class style of every single thing we did, my life moved in a dizzying spiral. I had landed on another planet." The couple married in 1969, and soon thereafter, Evans made a career-defining decision for MacGraw by casting her as Jennifer Cavallari in 1970's Love Story. The film became a blockbuster that rescued the struggling Paramount Pictures, where Evans served as studio head. Consequently, on the heels of this success, MacGraw gave birth to their son, Josh Evans, in 1971. Although their partnership appeared glamorous from the outside, tension brewed beneath the surface. Evans himself reportedly admitted years later that MacGraw had been unhappy in the marriage. His own description of their relationship revealed a telling dynamic when he recounted, "Ali warned me, 'I'm a hot lady, never leave me for more than 2 weeks.'" The fundamental issue appeared to be Evans' singular focus on his career at Paramount Pictures. As a slick raconteur who essentially ran the studio, Evans admitted that he paid far more attention to marriage to the studio than in his actual marriage to Ali, which he feels is why he lost her. This prioritization manifested clearly during the production of The Godfather and other Paramount films like Chinatown. MacGraw reportedly grew furious with Evans because he prioritized The Godfather and Paramount's other pictures over her and her career. Their relationship was the textbook definition of a Hollywood power imbalance. Robert Evans wasn't just any man, he was a big shot. The kind of guy who called the shots at Paramount and made careers with a single phone call. For Ali MacGraw, who was still rising in the industry, being with him felt like stepping into a dream she hadn't even dared to fully imagine. He had the power to cast her in major roles, and he did, which, of course, shaped the entire direction of her career. He lived in a world of red carpets, private jets, and endless charm. And it was hard not to be pulled into that glittering orbit. But behind all the glitz, something important was missing. Evans often seemed more focused on his next production deal than on being truly present in their relationship. For him, success came first. And for her, being with someone so driven meant slowly realizing that personal connection often came second, if it came at all. Why did she feel controlled by Evans? The producer's temperament created an unpredictable home environment that MacGraw found increasingly difficult. You never knew what he was going to do or say or be next, she wrote. That translated on screen as excitement. In life, it was a little less romantic, making for a pretty nerve-wracking home life, as I tried to guess the mood of the day or the hour. Years later, MacGraw reflected on the fundamental issues in all her marriages, including her time with Evans. During a conversation with Oprah for Super Soul Sunday, she revealed that her relationships ended because she never really said who she was. MacGraw elaborated that this sentiment wasn't about meanness in her marriages, but rather her belief that her husbands should intuitively know her needs without her expressing them. The arrogance of it just blows my mind. My arrogance, MacGraw admitted. This pattern of not expressing herself or allowing her true self to emerge contributed significantly to the breakdown of her relationship with Evans. Furthermore, MacGraw felt professionally controlled by Evans. Although he had cast her in Love Story, which catapulted her to fame, his influence over her career decisions created tension. Indeed, it was Evans who urged her to take the role in The Getaway opposite Steve McQueen, assuring her it would help stretch her beyond preppy roles. This decision, which MacGraw initially resisted, ultimately led to the dissolution of their marriage. Now, how did this breakup affect her career? The fallout from her affair with McQueen and subsequent divorce from Evans in 1972 had profound professional consequences. MacGraw left Evans, taking only their 2-year-old son Josh with her, and the separation unfolded very publicly. Unlike her later divorce from McQueen, where she received nothing financially, the professional impact of leaving Evans proved more significant. Essentially, MacGraw lost her most powerful industry advocate at a crucial point in her career development. Without Evans's guidance and influence at Paramount, her career trajectory changed dramatically. After departing from Evans, MacGraw dedicated herself to McQueen at the expense of her career's momentum. At the peak of her fame, MacGraw gave up her career for McQueen, a decision that film agent Sue Mengers bluntly characterized, "Ali was a saint, Steve was a prick." Following her time with McQueen, MacGraw struggled to regain her professional footing. A series of film disappointments followed, including Convoy with Chris Christopherson in 1977, Players with Dean Paul Martin, and Just Tell Me What You Want with Alan King in 1980. When she turned to television for work, she faced harsh criticism, notably from Time magazine, which singled her out as the only bad thing in The Winds of War, 1983, a review that left her shocked and devastated and triggered a solid week of blackout drinking. The irony remained that despite their dramatic split, Evans and MacGraw maintained a connection over the decades. When Evans received his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2002, MacGraw accompanied him. Following Evans's death in 2019, MacGraw told The Hollywood Reporter, "Our son Joshua and I will miss Bob tremendously, and we are so very proud of his enormous contribution to the film industry." Looking back at their relationship, Evans himself told Vanity Fair in 2010 that MacGraw had remained a close friend despite their divorce, stating, "If I had it to do over, I'd still be with Ali." Ali MacGraw worked with some of the biggest stars in Hollywood, but not all of them were easy to be around. In fact, she flat out loathed working with 5 of them. Want to know who made the list? The reasons are as juicy as the names. And trust me, You'll want to stick around for the very last one. It's a shocker. Number 3. Ryan O'Neal. Unlike her tumultuous personal relationships with Robert Evans and Steve McQueen, Ali MacGraw's complex dynamic with Ryan O'Neal centered primarily around their professional collaboration. Their iconic pairing in 1970's Love Story created cinematic history, yet masked a more complicated reality behind the camera. On screen, MacGraw and O'Neal portrayed one of cinema's most memorable couples, the wealthy Harvard student Oliver Barrett IV and working-class Radcliffe student Jennifer Cavallari. Their portrayal of star-crossed lovers captivated audiences worldwide with the film's tagline, "Love means never having to say you're sorry," becoming a cultural phenomenon. Their performances helped propel Love Story to phenomenal commercial success, becoming one of the highest-grossing films of its era and earning 7 Academy Award nominations, including Best Picture. The chemistry between MacGraw and O'Neal appeared genuine and electric, conveying a romance so believable that many viewers assumed the actors shared similar affection off-screen. This perception was carefully cultivated by Paramount's publicity machine under Evans's direction, as he recognized the commercial value of audiences believing in the authenticity of their connection. Director Arthur Hiller frequently commented on the natural ease between his leads, noting how little direction they needed for intimate scenes. This apparent harmony, nonetheless, concealed mounting frustrations that developed throughout production. Let's talk about their behind-the-scenes clashes. Behind the camera, tensions gradually emerged between the actors. MacGraw, still relatively new to acting with only Goodbye, Columbus under her belt before Love Story, approached her role with intense dedication and preparation. O'Neal, conversely, had extensive television experience from his years on Peyton Place and brought a more relaxed, intuitive approach to acting. Their contrasting methods created friction during filming. MacGraw preferred multiple takes to perfect her performance, while O'Neal often felt confident after minimal attempts. This fundamental difference in working styles led to disagreements about pacing and production schedules. Adding to the complexity, MacGraw faced additional pressure as the wife of Paramount's head, Robert Evans. Her performance carried not only personal stakes, but professional implications for her husband's studio. Meanwhile, O'Neal viewed Love Story as his breakthrough opportunity after years in television, creating an environment where both actors felt tremendous pressure for different reasons. The production schedule itself created logistical challenges. Filming during a particularly harsh Boston winter meant long hours in uncomfortable conditions, further straining relationships on set. Both actors later acknowledged that physical discomfort and exhaustion contributed to occasional flare-ups. Why did she find it difficult to work with him? MacGraw's primary frustrations with O'Neal stemmed from what she perceived as his inconsistent professionalism. While she meticulously prepared for emotionally demanding scenes, particularly those depicting her character's terminal illness, she sometimes felt O'Neal didn't match her level of preparation or emotional investment. Their different approaches to the craft became particularly evident during Jennifer's death scene, arguably the film's most crucial moment. MacGraw immersed herself completely in her character's emotional journey, whereas O'Neal's more technical approach struck her as disconnected from the scene's emotional gravity. Furthermore, MacGraw reportedly found O'Neal's off-camera behavior occasionally distracting. His reputation for flirtatious behavior with female crew members created an atmosphere MacGraw found unprofessional. As someone still learning the nuances of film acting, MacGraw sought a focused environment that she felt O'Neal's behavior sometimes undermined. Adding complexity to their relationship, O'Neal's rising star status during filming meant he received significant attention from producers and crew. For MacGraw, who despite being married to a powerful producer, still felt like a newcomer to acting, this perceived preferential treatment created additional resentment. Despite their behind-the-scenes differences, both actors maintained a professional public facade throughout Love Story's promotion and success. Interviews from the period show them speaking highly of each other's talents, with any friction carefully concealed from public view. This calculated public image persisted for decades after the film's release. During the 50th anniversary of Love Story, O'Neill and MacGraw reunited for promotional appearances, appearing cordial and nostalgic about their collaboration. This carefully maintained public relationship serves as a testament to Hollywood's ability to preserve marketable narratives regardless of personal realities. Interestingly, both actors have acknowledged that their professional friction may have inadvertently enhanced certain scenes. The underlying tension between them added complexity to moments where their characters argued or experienced conflict, creating a realistic edge that contributed to the film's emotional impact. Number 2. Kris Kristofferson. In 1978, following her tumultuous relationship with Steve McQueen, Ali MacGraw found herself in a professional predicament that led to yet another difficult Hollywood collaboration. Her experience working with Kris Kristofferson on Convoy would add another name to the list of actors with whom she shared complicated dynamics. The production of Convoy emerged as a career necessity for MacGraw after her divorce from McQueen left her financially vulnerable. Having taken a 5-year break from acting, MacGraw had no money of her own and reluctantly let her agent Sue Mengers convince her to accept the role. The film, directed by Sam Peckinpah, starred Kristofferson as Martin Rubber Duck Penwald, a non-unionized trucker, alongside MacGraw as Melissa, a photographer who joins him on his journey. Filming conditions proved challenging from the start. Peckinpah, once a formidable director, was struggling with severe addiction issues. According to accounts, he suffered from alcoholism and substance addiction throughout this period. His 4 previous films had underperformed at the box office, creating immense pressure for Convoy to succeed commercially. The production itself faced numerous hurdles. Peckinpah was unhappy with the screenplay and encouraged actors to improvise dialogue. Then, the director's impairment sometimes required friend James Coburn to step in as an uncredited second-unit director. Also, the initial rough cut reportedly ran an excessive 220 minutes before studio intervention. Moreover, MacGraw found herself playing a character whose purpose in the story remained ambiguous. As one review noted, what Melissa and Rubber Duck see in each other, not to mention why she's in New Mexico, isn't really clear. Despite Kristofferson's previously successful collaboration with Peckinpah on Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, MacGraw's experience working with the actor proved disappointing. In fact, she loathed making the film, notwithstanding the pleasure of starring with Kris Kristofferson. This apparent contradiction only revealed a complex dynamics that many weren't privy to. Whereas MacGraw respected Kristofferson's talent, the overall working environment apparently made the experience miserable. Kristofferson himself seemed to view the project with a casual attitude. When telling his band about spending the next few months stuck in a truck with Ali MacGraw, his guitar player reportedly responded, "Well, that beats whatever I had planned," a comment that perhaps reflected the lack of seriousness surrounding the production. For MacGraw, this project represented more than just another film. It marked her attempted return to acting after dedicating years to her marriage with McQueen. The experience evidently fell far short of the professional comeback she needed. Instead of revitalizing her career, Convoy became yet another disappointment in a string of professional setbacks. Let's talk about the creative differences and miscommunication. The film suffered from inconsistent creative vision. Peckinpah attempted to expand the script's dimensions by casting black actors Madge Sinclair and Franklin Ajay in supporting roles, introducing racial elements that weren't fully developed. Additionally, the screenplay tried to be both funny and serious, but achieved neither convincingly. Beyond script issues, communication problems plagued the set. Peckinpah's condition meant that clear direction was often lacking. Subsequently, EMI executives intervened dramatically, firing both Peckinpah and editor Garth Craven mid-production. They promoted editor Graham Clifford to drastically reduce the running time of the film for a June 1978 release. This executive meddling gutted the director's vision. According to author Garner Simmons, EMI and Clifford's version of Convoy cut the guts out of it. The final product pleased neither critics nor its creators, although it performed surprisingly well internationally. As Christopherson later noted, "It wasn't Sam's best film, but it was popular around the world. They loved it in places like China and South America just because of the big trucks." Ironically, this troubled production occurred simultaneously with MacGraw's marriage to McQueen ending. After filming concluded, she and McQueen drove to Montana, one final trip before their relationship completely dissolved, symbolic of how this professional disappointment coincided with personal turmoil. Some stars play nice for the cameras, but behind the scenes, it's a different story. Ali MacGraw finally named the 5 actors she hated the most, and the reasons are wild. Want to know who rubbed her the wrong way? Watch till the end, because the last name will totally change how you see them. Number 1. George C. Scott. After her disappointing experience on Convoy, Ali MacGraw's acting career took yet another challenging turn when she collaborated with acclaimed actor George C. Scott on the 1983 TV movie China Rose. This project, filmed shortly after MacGraw's year-long hiatus from work, would prove to be an uncomfortable pairing that critics and audiences alike would question. In early 1983, MacGraw flew to Hong Kong to star alongside Scott in China Rose, a 2-hour television production. The story featured Scott as Burton Allen, a recently widowed American businessman searching for his son who had disappeared in China 16 years earlier. MacGraw portrayed Rose Arrow, his Chinese translator, who candidly admitted she wasn't really fluent in Chinese, but can get along. Their characters developed an unlikely romance throughout the film, with MacGraw's character confessing, "I'm tired of China, and I don't want to be alone anymore." Why did she find him intimidating? Beyond Scott's formidable reputation as an Oscar-winning actor, his physical presence and detached demeanor on set created a challenging dynamic. Critics described him as surprisingly portly and noted that he appeared to walk through the picture as if he had an appointment pending elsewhere. For MacGraw, who had already weathered difficult relationships with domineering male figures like Evans and McQueen, Scott's imposing presence reportedly made establishing comfortable on-screen chemistry extremely difficult. Even when their characters shared intimate moments, the disconnect between them remained palpable to viewers. The film ultimately revealed a fundamental incompatibility between the actors. Whereas MacGraw appeared sincere but somewhat dazed, Scott seemed completely disengaged from the material. One critic pointedly asked, "When Ali MacGraw kisses George C. Scott, which one is more likely to be going blee inside?" Viewers similarly noted that the Scott-MacGraw matchup didn't work, especially regarding their forced romantic scenes that appeared out of the blue. Even Scott's considerable talents couldn't elevate the material. As one viewer lamented, "Any movie with George C. Scott has to have something on the ball. I was wrong." With this, we have come to the end of this video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do well to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. To enjoy more thrilling stories, click now on the following video that pops up on your screen.